Usually these respond to a sound as such. The making process is really sort of much more physical, more rhythmic. If you were to hear this, it would be like maybe, because these are always been considered as like a skin, like a drum skin. So if you could imagine a drummer playing along to a song, these are how they're made. They're played along to music, particular musics. I constantly think. My brain is always ticking, constantly ticking. Processing. There's always something that is kind of always hanging in the air over the work. My practice is generative, so it looks at generative processes and spontaneity and how one thing can move to another. These kinds of overlapping ideas that maybe invert on themselves, collapse on themselves and then reform themselves. It can only think through various mediums. It can't just think through one thing. My practice is painting and sound and all of these other elements in terms of sculpture, installation, found objects, video, film, performance, etc. Make soundscapes for the paintings to exist in. I like this total experience. So we have sort of 5 senses at least. So I'd like to kind of tune into those. I can listen to music like a wine test and say it's this colour, that colour, and that colour. It's this shape, and this shape, and this shape. That informs the paintings. It's like a kind of litmus test or a way of gauging that sound feels like this, or that song feels like this shape or this space. It can allude to something in the distance. It can allude to something right in front of your focal point. The Secret Blueberry paintings were painted for my degree show at RCA. The paintings have an overall blueness to them, but they register with a lot of people as black. And it's this going back to Ad Reinhardt and this teaching people to look. So he taught people how to see in new hues in painting. So I find that really interesting in terms of that experience of painting to be slowed down and things unfold, and people who take time with painting are rewarded by the painting because they start to see little inflections, or they start to see just the light shifts and it brings out a colour. Because in here we have some figures, but because they're so small in comparison to these, they seem a lot further away and it tells a lot more of the narrative. I've got my motif of speakers in here. In this diptych, they're actually listening to the earth. The balance between the analog and the digital, nature and technology is always at play in my work. These came out of a drawing that I did in 2011 because it has this like black and white binary. It thinks about 0-1 in technology. On off, 1-0, it's kind of alternate. It's a rhythm already. It thinks about rhythm. None of them are pre-sketched. There's no drawing beforehand. They just drawn out, bam, 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 bam. Just draw them out and just go to it.